Hey, everybody, and welcome. Glad you could make it. I'm Dr. Holland, the director of the Institute for Violence Research. And I want to talk with you just for a quick second about some data that's come out recently in a study. A lot of information has come out recently, specifically looking at the pandemic and some of the violence that's occurred within it and the sharp increase of homicide rates, which we've been looking at for a while as we've seen some trends changing. A lot of the data inside that study would really indicate that there is just this sharp change that occurred with a lot of the different attributes that came with the pandemic. And it's something to really look at, obviously, because of the urgency and the importance of the topic itself. But I want to talk with you just really quickly about just violence in general, because violence is a process. It's not an event. So the increased rate of homicide is a culmination of many factors. A lot of times I think we are well-meaning in our attempts to homogenize things down to one solution, one fix to this. And it is just a complex problem, and there is no simple solution to it. But our goal is to interrupt the process of violence before it occurs. Before these events happen, we want that process interrupted. And even the healthiest of individuals with the strongest coping strategies and have every resource to be able to bring into this struggle are struggling with a lot of the dynamics during the pandemic. And so for many of our communities, just the increased stress levels, the feelings of oppression from the government, from rules that are in place, even as they may be helping us, stop the spread of this virus, alienation from normal coping strategies and friends they're normally with, can create an environment where the process of violence can escalate very, very quickly, which I think is a lot of what we're seeing. There's a lot of increased energy and a lot of emotion that flies around. And emotion literally is energy in motion. That energy surfaces, and many people are turning with the frustration and directing it toward things that are quite aggressive. And so I would like to share with you a 700 Club story that they just did on this topic, which is excellent. And here it is.
Well, murder rates saw a historic increase nationwide last year, according to a report from the National Commission of COVID-19 and Criminal Justice. As CBN Charlene Aaron reports, experts analyzed data from American cities, big and small, to investigate the pandemic's impact.
The study looked at crime rates in 34 cities, ranging in size from New York to Norfolk, Virginia. In addition to the significant spike in homicides, researchers found how the pandemic may have contributed to the uptick in violence. While 2020 will be remembered for deaths due to COVID-19, this report also found an increase of 1,268 homicides over the year before. Statistics in urban areas tell an even bigger story. In Milwaukee, the total increased by 85%. Seattle saw a 63% rise, New York City 43%, and in Chicago, a city known for shootings, there were 278 more murders in 2020, an increase of 55%. While other crimes, such as stolen cars and assaults, rose as well, the report takes a close look at the connection between the homicide increase and the pandemic. It points to stress caused by isolation and extreme social restrictions, combined with economic loss and fear of death as possible factors.
We see even the healthiest of individuals with unlimited resources to coping strategies who are struggling.
Dr. Danny Holland of Regent University's School of Psychology leads the Institute for Violence Research. He says those stressors could lead people to violence and even murder.
Definitely could. It could push somebody over the edge. I think somebody who has a propensity for aggression or somebody who has a tendency to be aggressive in other different ways may go that direction.
Still, COVID isn't the only reason behind the increase. Extreme violence racked many cities following the police-related deaths of George Floyd and other African Americans. Criminologists also cite increased gang violence and a surge in gun ownership. Filmmaker Dimas Salaberios recently looked at the impact of surging violence in his film, Chicago, America's Hidden War, which is under Oscar consideration. He describes its devastation on communities, particularly children.
We were walking through the streets. We asked for the addresses of the most dangerous blocks in Chicago. And we remember we met this little kid, his name was Quincy, who was sleeping under his bed. He said his house had bullet holes in it. He's seen bullets fly everywhere. We talked to another kid who's around 9 years old. He said, I watched in front of my face my cousin get beat up and shot twice and killed. Then the killer came back and shot him again. He said, I can never forget these things.
Salaberios says the church can make a difference.
This film shows guns being turned into pastors, people being baptized and quitting gangs.
Wow.
The church is the answer, and we can bring the homicides down, but we got to stay out there.
Meanwhile, experts say given these findings, it's crucial we get the pandemic under control. Then law enforcement, the church, and community leaders can work on ways to bring people together to stem violence across America. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Thanks, Charlene.
What a great job they did covering that, and some great resources there. And I love how the community involvement is coming into the story and really starting to take the lead a little bit and saying, let's go ahead and see what we can do. I want to give you some things you can specifically do to help people around you. You know, we all have a limited level of capacity for what we can endure in ourselves, inside of us. And like any container, like a cup, if you overfill it, it overflows. And a lot of times people are walking around close to the edge and trying to manage things, and can have significant frustration, anger, depression, sadness, all kinds of things surfacing when they are having a hard time managing and regulating the strong emotions. You know, just understand that people around you have that limited capacity, and try to look at their lives, look at them, and really get engaged with their lives. Help them in those areas, because they need those areas that they can kind of regain some control in. They need those areas they can regain some control in, how they can care for themselves, how they can do things they enjoy, even if it's some of it's maybe taken away from them due to regulations. What are some new things they can do? How can they get a sense of control back in their lives without lashing out in aggressive ways, or in ways maybe that are harmful through substances or other things? But again, try to get around them, help them walk through these times. Look out for people around you in your community, and try to be there for them, and just be as available as you can. You know, we each have that capacity, and there is so much going on right now that can be difficult, and stressors all around us. We have to take care of ourselves, take control of what we can control, and just step in a gap for others if we're capable of doing so, just to help them get to that place where they can lower that level a little bit of what they're going through, and continue to have some control moving into the future, and walking through the next season of this pandemic with them. So we'll continue to try to keep you updated on a lot of the data and things we can do to try to maybe make the best of things in these moments and change some of these recent trends. So God bless.